This is Parker at Del Toro Films, and we're doing our weekly The Strain podcast. And we're going to be covering episode 5, Quick and Painless. And I've got some of my favorite contributors on the horn.
Your favorite contributors?
Yeah, my only contributors. Not including Gary. Gary's a Uber contributor.
He is.
He's got the hookups. But I've got Greg Kishbaugh and Donna Kishbaugh on our YouTube here. Say hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
So we talked earlier, and I thought I'd give a quick rundown of the highlights. And then I had a couple key things I wanted to talk about, because this was a big episode, right?
Absolutely.
It hit a lot of things on my list of, man, I wish they would do this. If only they would hit these points, I would be happy. And so now they're starting to hit them. So we'll see what happens. All right. So for those of you who have watched the episode, this won't be too spoilery, but I'm guessing the rest of this podcast will be quite spoilery. Yes. But just as a refresher, in this episode, it opens up with the police are quarantining. Mm-hmm. They're cleaning up a house and a building in Red Hook, Brooklyn for vampires. F goes to Washington, D.C. To deliver his counter plague, although I'm not really clear what he's going to do once he gets there. Satrakian hires the gangster that we saw in season 1, Alonzo, to help him find the Exita Lumen. The reappearance of Fitzwilliam, Eldridge Palmer's assistant. Fett joins forces with the police after getting arrested for blowing up the tunnel. And Feraldo, the hardline political chick, kills her nephew. And then we see a mysterious figure with a bone in his back get off of a plane at the end of the episode. So those are the high points. So, Greg, what do you want to hit first?
Oh, you started off. Let's go.
All right.
What were you looking for that you were excited by? Something
I've been waiting to see since season 1 was some sort of police force or military response to the breakout that's going on in the city. So now we're finally seeing policemen going door to door, exterminating vampires. And then we also saw at the train when Ephraim goes to the train station, how they're preventing people from leaving. And so he was lucky enough through some forged documentation that he was able to get out. But you could start to see it was a madhouse where people were trying to get out, but they were quarantined, and the military force, the police force, was not letting them exit. So finally, something I've been dying to see is some response by the government over what's going on.
Which is important, because what kind of response would there be if this was truly happening? How would society handle it? How would it not handle it? What things would fall apart first? And so that was a good addition to it. Not to mention the cool scene you started off with.
Yeah. And, I would think that's what would happen, that they would close the borders.
We'd assume martial law would probably come into effect fairly quickly.
Martial law goes into effect. You're not getting out unless you've got the right papers and you pass some sort of quarantine test. And when it's coming on that fast and your life's at stake, things are going to get out of hand quickly. So finally, we get to taste a little bit of that. And then I saw an interview with Guillermo del Toro and Carlton Cuse on this subject just last week. And some people asked them about it. And they said their response was why you had not seen it yet, and this was prior to this episode airing. Was the reason that you had not seen it was because the timeline of the television show is happening in a matter of days.
Right.
And I think it doesn't feel like that because there's weeks in between episodes, right?
Right. It does not feel like that at all. And you there for a while, you started to feel like it was all kind of in a bubble. You know, like these people were the only ones dealing with vampires. But I agree with you now that you have the police, and on this you have what's her name?
Oh yeah, is she a councilwoman or is she what is she?
Feraldo.
Yes,
Yeah.
Geraldo. You have her, so you're starting to get a sense of more things happening in the public, and there being more involvement with other people.
Yeah, and the different areas of the country would probably handle it in different ways. So we're seeing how she's handling it. She's Staten Island, right? So she's handling it in a certain way, and
she's hanging bodies.
yeah, she's got heads up and the whole deal. So she's going medieval.
Oh, hey, I should point out for our YouTube viewers that Donna just got done jogging, and so she's off camera.
She's just a disembodied voice.
Yeah, it's not like Greg's talking with his hand.
Yes,
Yeah.
my ventriloquist act.
And you can only see Greg from the shoulders up because he's not wearing pants.
Yeah, but I never do, so that's all right.
Yeah, that's why we had to stop doing these podcasts in person and we had to go remotely. It was just too uncomfortable.
I know, it was awkward for everybody involved.
My wife's in the house. I have children. It was just it wasn't going to work. All right, so that was a big one. And let me point out the spider children.
Oh God!
Cool as hell, right?
Oh,
the
scary.
spider children are very cool now, and they were. They're not only cool because they're visually cool, which they are, and scary, but they address something else that can become a problem for this kind of storytelling. Is where if you have a threat and everyone becomes accustomed to it. We use The Walking Dead again because that's something we kind of refer to sometimes. Is sometimes they become so ho hum in their interaction with the zombies because they know they're slow and they know they can kill them. That the threat doesn't feel quite as exciting as it was in season one. So by introducing these super scary, fast, can't kill them kids, it ramps it up. So now we can't just lay back and say, well, they're pretty easy to kill. They're not. So.
Right. Yeah. You saw that one fly up the side of the wall and go into an air duct.
Right on.
Oh, damn.
Very creepy. that has a whole new dimension of creepy to the end of the series, actually.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that. That is a nice touch. Finally starting to see those things move.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think what they're doing is they're looking for Zach, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Because
Mommy is sending them after.
Mommy's sending them out. But it's something interesting in the book is that they talked about it a little in season one, but they said that if you become a vampire, you're immediately attracted to your loved ones. That's the first people you are drawn to, and it's like a beacon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering why the feelers are needed, because Kelly technically she'd be drawn to Zach, or like she went and saw him before she got shot, right?
Correct.
At the end of season one.
Yep.
So maybe there's more to it than what I think it is.
Well, now she has these children sniffing out his clothing and any belongings too, so that they can track him down.
Yeah, they're kind of her hunting dogs.
Yeah. Or maybe she got shot in her beacon.
Could be. Which is very painful.
It is. I hear that I'm shot in my beacon, much less kicked in my beacon.
Yes.
All right. So, okay, here's another big one. Ephraim got his head shaved.
Right.
The wig is no more.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I made a comment to Gary about him being au natural, and Gary said no, he usually sports an afro. I was like, okay, sarcasm, much?
Yeah, that was something that was just time and time again was brought up on the internet, and it's one of those annoying things. And I think probably Guillermo probably had it up to here,
Yeah.
answering questions about the wig. But his argument was never that they needed a hero look for Corey Stoll,
Right.
but they wanted to show him eventually having to go change his appearance so he could blend in because he's a freak.
Right.
Who was
And
complaining
he looks
about,
cool.
about the wig? Was it people who are familiar with him as an actor, or was he the complainer? Was Corey the complaining?
No, I think he was always supportive of it. I think he asked, "Hey, why do I have to wear this?" In the beginning, he wanted to make sure it was a good decision on his, that was, was being made. And I think he bought into it. But what do you think? Do you think now that we've seen him go through season 1, season 2, he's a fugitive, he changes his look. Do you think it was a good decision?
Yeah, well, we kind of talked about last time that whole action hero thing where, sometimes it feels very forced in shows and movies where something goes wrong and it's the end of society like we have now, and instantly everyone's an action hero, which is just not how life would play out. There'd be those of us who'd be cowering in the corner crying. And so, for his character, as we talked about, a doctor, very analytical, he's still handling it very much the way he would a so-called normal outbreak, and looking at the way he would handle any other outbreak. And so I think now, as things are getting super weird, that attitude might start to change a little bit. And the stuff that happens on the train, and with his old boss, is something that probably wouldn't have happened at the very beginning. So yeah, shaves his head, he looks badass, and there you go from there.
That train scene was so intense.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, it was very intense.
I also like the fact that he grabbed like 3 Mike's Hard Lemonades or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good scene. It was kind of a Hitchcockian thing where, one of those things where he gets on the train and all of a sudden, gee, I hope he gets away easy and nothing bad goes wrong here. And of course, everything is thrown at him all at once, and all the people you don't want to be on the train are on the train, and every turn he takes leads to something else that doesn't, bode well for him. So it was well handled.
Yeah, they he threw Barnes off the train.
Yep.
He did.
Remember that movie, Throw Barnes from the Train?
Throw Barnes from the train.
Yeah.
I think that was it. Maybe it was.
That wasn't it? All right, I'll have to look it up.
Maybe not.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Guillermo was very defensive about the decision for the wig. I guess David Bradley, he wears a fake beard and mustache.
Yes.
And so Guillermo's point was, well, nobody ever questions that because David Bradley can grow a beard and a mustache, but poor Corey Stoll is follically challenged, let's say, and so it becomes more obvious.
I can relate, and as a fellow follically challenged person, I think it's just one of those things where the character calls for it, and we all know it's not the first wig to ever appear in a Hollywood production. So.
Yeah, so were you watching it thinking, "You go, brother, you go"?
Yeah, exactly.
I
think a wig would be kind of cool.
Wear it for all of us.
No.
With the giant 70s sideburns and
no wigging.
Yeah, so.
No.
Greg, I see you wearing something more like a Conan O'Brien coif.
I'm into it. Let's do it.
Just a big, about that high.
I'm ready.
I think you could.
Flocking like a Ken doll.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm open.
But there's something else I was going to say about that wig. I forget. Oh yeah. So beside the fact that he would, you would think it was going to have kind of a Breaking Bad moment where he shaves his head.
Right.
It becomes a key moment in that character's story. And they did a little bit. They had him shaving his head while he was drinking the booze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would recommend. The whole time I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, he's getting hair into his liquor. That is just disgusting. Because the glass is sitting there right there on the sink. But we're gonna see F drift a little more and more each season into alcoholism, aren't we?
It seems that way. That's what we're set up for. It seems like that's the way he's going to handle what's going on around him.
Yeah, he's recovering. So, Donna, what do you think of that?
Of him drinking?
Yes, as someone who's not read the books.
Well, I'll tell you,
But who does drink?
It seems to me that, and if I remember correctly, this is how his marriage broke up to begin with, correct?
That's right.
Because he was drinking too much. So he seemed to, kind of get on an even keel there for a while. But I do think with everything that's happening, and I think his son is starting to become very, I don't know, maybe he's hitting his teen years. I'm not sure how old he is. But he's becoming very defiant, and he's also very sad about his mother. So I don't think he really knows how to deal with that or his relationship with Nora. So with everything else that's going on around him, yes, I could see him definitely falling into that.
Yeah. And I think you hit on it. I think we're going to see Zach and F's relationship continue to deteriorate for a lot of the reasons you mentioned.
Right. And, it seemed like season 1, it seemed like their relationship was still, there was still something there. They were still bonding or bonded. And it seemed like as soon as this second season started, that it just seemed to end right with that. The beginning of the season, it was not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as soon as he lost mom, I think that was it for him.
And even with the bonding moment when they go to, hit balls, baseballs, and it was good there for a little while. And then he remembers doing that with his mother, and then it just fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Another thing I was going to bring up, and this is another thing that I loved about this episode. We're starting to see Fett become more of a character. And
definitely.
He's getting, I don't know if it's the writing I think they're starting to find the groove in that character, right? And what makes him a good character.
Yeah, I think his character to me reminds me a lot of the Norman Reedus character, again, with The Walking Dead. But, he kind of started out as more of a minor character and became such a strong character as it developed. I think this may be true with Fett as well. He kind of started off as a more of a minor character, but he is such a presence, and the actor's great. So I do think that it's going to evolve.
Yeah, and he's snarky and funny.
I think that's the biggest difference really between season 1 and his character going to season 2. And that's a really important element because this kind of, this kind of environment where we're dealing with the world falling apart and we have this many characters and this many character threads, this many storylines going through, you wouldn't have this overall super seriousness 24 hours a day with everybody. You'd have that guy who would be, who would be ready for this and would be better positioned to handle himself than other people would and wouldn't be afraid of it as much as somebody else and would be able to throw a couple of good one-liners every once in a while.
Yeah.
So comedic relief.
No, yeah.
You do have to have it because then it just becomes too serious. You've got to have something.
Yeah. Unless you're The Walking Dead, I don't think they've had a funny character yet.
No, they have not had a big laugh ride on that.
Not so much. But this has been really good for the show. And we finally get to see Fett in his natural element, where he is playing the exterminator and showing the police the ropes, right?
Yeah, and what a cool way to set up that character to begin with. I mean, that's from day 1 of the first episode, that's how he's introduced, as he's the exterminator. He's the rat guy. So, it's a good way to set him up as being someone who would, just like we talked about the way F would handle it, he handles everything analytically as a doctor would. And this guy is the opposite. He handles it you know what, I'm going to blow up the tunnel because this is where they're coming in. And that's just the natural thing that I would do as an exterminator. I'm going I'm going to take it to that extreme, and
Yeah. Throw bombs down elevators.
that's it. Let's do it. This is how I get rid of them.
Although I don't know if I would have stuck my face in that hole in the wall when he,
This is something I wouldn't have done either.
Yeah.
But again.
I was like, there's a tongue coming out of that hole.
Oh yeah, without question.
It's and you know what's going to happen, and you're just like, "Arr."
Out of the way.
Okay. And Donna, here's a question for you.
Okay.
Who do you think is that mysterious character at the end of episode 5?
It's funny you should ask, because that's the first thing I said when it ended.
Mhm.
To Greg, I said, we haven't seen really the Master at all this season. I mean, yeah, we've heard him talk through people, but we haven't seen that initial character. So I did wonder if this was a right-hand man, if this was a new and improved Master. I have no idea who this is. And I'm very curious to find out.
It is
good ending.
a major character that I've been waiting to see
Okay.
from the books.
Okay, from the books. Yeah, I had no idea, because we've not seen this character, and I don't even know if this character's been hinted at. I have no idea, because no name was mentioned.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued about his entrance, because the guy came in on a plane and landed in a restricted area, and his cohorts, his lackeys, were like, he went that way.
Yeah.
He's sick.
Well, he looked like almost like one of the, from what I could see, one of the ancients. I mean, he looked like one of the really older vampires. Maybe not so. Maybe his features weren't so dominant, but he looked very old to me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, he looks cool. It was a good ending.
Definitely. So more of that to come for sure.
So can you give me any hints about this character, or would that be giving too much away?
I don't know. I don't know how to tread the line of spoiler and not give away too much.
You know who it is, Greg?
No.
Greg doesn't know who it is.
He's a very important character, and he's been around a long time.
All right, so cool.
But he's not an ancient.
He's not. Okay. Okay.
Real quick, Donna, is there anything you guys wanted to chat about on episode 5?
Well, I'm interested a little bit in Homer's relationship.
Oh, right. Yeah,
because what is going on there? I mean,
first of all, where is that girl's parents?
Yes, exactly.
No kidding.
The dad in me kicking in. I was like, what is she doing with that jackass?
Yeah, well, exactly. And he's, probably 80 years old.
Well, I mean, he's got a pretty cool pad, and
Hey.
He didn't even want to dance with her. Come on.
Well, see, here's what I think was interesting about that scene. This is a guy who's been basically sick and ill all his life, has been in a wheelchair all his life, and he doesn't know how to dance. And for the first time, he's getting a real connection with a person, which is an interesting direction that the story is going in. And he didn't want to dance with her because he was insecure about it.
Which is very interesting from the fact that season 1, sets him up pretty strictly as straight out villain. Mm-hmm. And this season, while villainous and doing terrible things, we get these cutaway scenes that humanize him, the flashbacks included, and give him a little more depth than being a flat out bad guy. This was being a great example. So
yeah, and this isn't something that was in the book, by the way. This is, they're starting to expand a little bit from the book storylines now in this season finally. Actually, not a little bit, quite a bit. And so this, like, Dutch isn't a character in the books. she's become a major character.
Right.
This romantic involvement that's happening with Palmer is completely new.
Okay.
And
How about the Silver Angel?
oh, that was what I wanted to ask Donna about. She was really excited to talk about it. So I wanted to make sure
we were fired up about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I love the Lucha Libre. I love the luchador culture. And when I saw Angel, I thought immediately of Santo. And Santo, there are 3 top luchadors in Mexico: Santo, Blue Demon, and Mil Máscaras. Those were the 3 big ones. Santo was born in like, I think 1917 or something. So this started a long time ago. Mm-hmm. He's huge in Mexico. He really brought a lot to the table in terms of sports, even modern day wrestling. They give him credit for that. He was, now see, I don't know about Blue Demon or Mil Máscaras, but you know, Santo did a lot of movies, and he was in the movies, he would fight vampires and aliens and do all these things. So when I saw
As
Angel,
one does.
Right.
Yeah, as one does. Right.
With his mask on, of course. And when I saw Angel, that's immediately who I thought of. But Guillermo may have, you know, been thinking of somebody else. I don't know. But I'd like to think that he's based on Santo.
Oh, okay.
But,
yeah, I don't know much about the scene. I know that Guillermo is a huge fan of those types of films.
Oh yeah.
It was a great intro. I mean, it was funny because we were talking about how cool the original intro to the very first episode was. And you know, this was right up there. We were like, this is so great. I mean, the movie was cool. Everything about it was cool. And it was also a very great way of doing exposition, which is the hardest thing in the world to do, without someone just talking about, hey, weren't you a wrestler back in the day? And doing that whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Having him actually sitting there watching it and then clicking it off and going back to work.
And fast forwarding it through the good parts. I like that.
Exactly. It was great.
I love that. I love that so much. And I was just sitting on the edge of my seat with excitement. And then, you know, Angel, you know, doesn't want to talk to anybody and won't admit to who he was. Well, Santo never, ever, ever took his mask off in public, ever, until I think 1984. He was on TV and he revealed himself a little to his fans because he was dying. He was ill, and he did die that year. And so I don't know. It gives me chills. I love that stuff so much. And I was so happy to see Guillermo direct a beautiful piece in the show. Yeah.
Yeah. He was second unit director for that.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a great intro. It was really cool. Yeah. It's my favorite thing so far about season 2 is just that the branching out. You know, season 1 was, you have to do it that way. Start with a core group of people, and it was very claustrophobic, and you have to start introducing more people. But the expansion this year and going to new characters and the flashbacks and bringing some more history into it, and really broadening the world. Now F has left the city and gone to a second city, and just kind of broadens that world a little more. So. Cool stuff. And
yeah,
yes, that film was cool.
That was very cool, and you can always tell when Guillermo has directed a segment.
Yep, I'm going to put that segment up on YouTube. I think it's there. I'll put it up on our Del Toro Films YouTube channel so people can watch it.
Okay.
Because I wanted to see that movie all by itself.
I know, the whole thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, so now, you know, I was looking forward to seeing Angel in episode 5, and he doesn't show up. So, you know, now we're getting kind of Carlton's Lost thing going on here, where, you know, somebody appears and you don't see them for a while, and then they come back and you learn a lot about them, and they go away for a while.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what happens episode 6.
Yes.
Right on.
Yes.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. Greg and Donna, thank you for being a part of this episode.
Thank you.
Right back at you.
We will definitely have you on again, and we'll be back next week with the episode 6 recap.
Yes.
All right?
Cool.
Yes.
Sayonara, everybody.
Bye.